The next point is multi-directional process. Cultivation is not a synonym for TV effect, for the public contribute in shaping TV content, just as television contributes in shaping public's views. TV neither creates nor reflects the social, personal, and cultural elements presented on its screen. First, television doesn't create, as these elements do not originate out of void, but derive from a dynamic process in which society, the public, media institutions, and trust groups influence the creation and distribution of mass produced messages. These messages in turn would generate influence and suit the needs, values, and ideologies of the public. For example, presenting a somewhat realistic image of an adolescent female member of a given social class may help viewers define and form various distinct identities. Second, as the television doesn't reflect these social, personal, and cultural elements, as interest groups and media institutions influence the sorties presented, for example, gatekeepers, and media institutions formulate policies that control and direct the massive flow of media and messages. Let's come to the cultural indicators. The notion of cultural indicators is an important theoretical component in cultivation theory. In fact, the original project led by George Gerbner and his associates in 1969 was titled the Cultural Indicators Project. According to the cultural indicator concept, the TV content and systematic messages patterns not only reflect underlying cultural values in society, but also act as a reference of the directions of social change in society. In recent studies, the topic is a return to cultural indicators. This study was done by James Shanahan. He examines the notions of the cultural indicators in relation to issues of portrayals of violence on television and portrayals of minority groups. The researcher concludes that in relation to social representations of some groups such as gays, African Americans, or women, TV programs and their messages do reflect social change and act as a strong cultural indicators. There are different key terms in cultivation analysis. Number one is mainstreaming. Mainstreaming is the blurring, blending, and bending process by which heavy television viewers from disparate groups developed a common outlet on the world through constant exposure to the same images and labels on TV. Mainstreaming through television plays a central role in society. There are many people that don't have access to television, but the reach of television is so expensive that it has become the primary channel responsible for shaping what is mainstream in our culture. The mainstream is more than the sum of all cross currents and subcurrents. It represents the broadcast range of shared meanings and assumptions. In the most general, functional, and stable way, Heavy television viewing may override individual differences and perspectives, creating more on an American melting pot of social, cultural, and political ideologies. Next is the dramatic violence in heavy viewers. Dramatic violence is the overt expressions or serious threat of physical force is part of the plot. The idea of dramatic violence underscores in the relationships between fear and entertainment. Though death is being used as a plot point, it also functions to cultivate a particular image of looming violence. Heavy viewers are individuals who watch at least 4 hours of television a day. However, Nelson, he is a scholar, he notes that heavy viewers are now defined as those that watch more than 11 hours of television a day. Heavy viewers are constantly characterized as being more susceptible to the images and messages on television. They are also rely on television more to cultivate their perceptions of the real world. Another mechanism that might explain the cultivation phenomena is a cognitive narrative mechanism. Previous research suggests that the realism of television narratives is in combination with individual level or the ability to adopt a less critical stance toward a narrative might facilitate cultivation effects. The next point is resonance. Resonance occurs when things viewed on television are congruent with the actual lived realities of viewers. Gerbner also writes that this provides a double dose of messages that resonate and amplify cultivation. Additionally, the George Gerbner he defines resonance as the similarity between everyday reality and television narratives. For example, they give is of a minority groups whose factional television character is stereotypically more frequently victimized on television, creating an exaggerated perceptions of violence for individuals who watch more television. The last point is the cultivation effect on children's. I found one research article where they have studied on or research on the cultivation effects on children. I read that there was a positive relationships between childhood television viewing levels and the social reality beliefs in young adulthood. There was a positive relationship between it. The result of a study also suggests that television viewed during childhood may affect the social reality beliefs a person holds as an adult. Accordingly, a study also focuses on the potential effect of childhood television viewing on social reality beliefs during adulthood. The focus of the study will be childhood exposure to television genres that tends to be violent. Given that it has been argued and demonstrated that measuring exposure to violent content is a more appropriate method for cultivation analysis than measuring overall television exposure level. I read another research paper which was done by Nicole Martins and Kristen Harrison. They shows that how television exposure is associated with overall self-esteem in the children. They also measured the amount of television viewing in elementary school children in their overall level of self-esteem after television exposure over time. They found that higher levels of television viewing predicted lower self-esteem for white girls, black girls, and black boys, but higher self-esteem for white boys. This relationship indicates that exposure to portrayals of white males on television, which tend to be positive, and those of black men and women and white women, which tend to be negative, shape the way children understand their own identities. I think that's enough for today. Uh, Kindly subscribe my channel because I will come up with a new video lecture so that you can get my next lecture easily. Thank you so much and best of luck.